Good evening. M.M Out here, over there, everywhere, all over the place. In this case, right here, with the Apostle Leroy Canterbury, he who contested the last two general elections in St. Peter, and God's willing will contest another one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, Apostle, during the past week, or week and a half, there was some turmoil in Rock Hall concerning squatters. Are you aware of the situation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah. What strikes me is that they're being called squatters. And I remember the former member of Parliament for St. Lucie, Dennis Kelman, calling people, in fact, before I get into that, what is a squatter?
Okay, well, based on what I understand, squatter is someone who has actually built a residence on another person's property. Okay, without express permission of the owner of the land.
So in other words, a squatter is someone who is living on land that does not belong to them and therefore living there illegally.
That's correct.
That's the definition of a squatter. Now, Mr. Dennis Kelman, when he was member of Parliament for St. Lucie, he was heavily criticized for calling people of that ilk squatters. Now they're being called squatters by the present, he was criticized by the present administration when they were in opposition. Now, these same people are being called squatters by the present administration, and no one seems to have noticed that.
Well, let me say this, and I think I said this on a previous broadcast. There's something that is very deadly going on in Barbados, where it seems like any person who says anything against this present administration comes under very heavy scrutiny, and there's a major backlash on them. That's deadly, very deadly in Barbados right now. It's almost like nobody can say anything against this present administration. And you're saying that, and I'm glad that you're bringing this up, because this has also been the case in 6 months for a very long time, okay? And year after year, and this is something that has to be dealt with, because this has happened all over Barbados.
Actually, when Mr. Kelvin was talking about squatters, he was referring to 6 men.
Correct, correct. And that situation in 6 months, as you would know, has been on the agenda for close to 20, 30 years. But nothing has been done about it. Now, I'm amazed that this present situation in Rock Hall, all of a sudden now there are measures being put in place to relocate these individuals. Where are you going to take them? Okay, the land that you're going to move them to, who does it belong to? Okay, this is something that, again, we have to understand, Mr. Morris, about governmental assistance for individuals. You have to nip these things in the bud. People must understand that it is an illegal act to build property. In some cases, they have built wall structures on land that is not theirs. And this has become a very serious situation.
Because I remember during the last campaign, the current member for St. Lucie and the member of St. Peter in a meeting in 6 months, they were actually telling the people, can you imagine that he called you squatters? That's what he thinks about you. Squatters?
Yeah.
Now they are calling these people squatters. So squatters seems to be an accepted word now. Does it mean something different than what it meant a year ago or 2 years ago?
Well, sometimes it depends on the context and when it's used. We're dealing with illegal tenants. Okay. Squatters suggest someone who really doesn't have any place or board that puts up a temporary structure someplace just to be out of the elements.
But you want to know something? That the solutions and the remedy that they're actually doing or attempting to do is the same thing that Dennis Kelman was trying to do and was heavily criticized. It's the exact same thing. It's a clone. And that's not the first time that they're trying to do something that Dennis Kelman has actually spoken about, because the record is there. If you could do your research, you can find out what they're doing now is exactly what Dennis Kelman wanted to do, and they were criticizing him.
Well, you know, for a number of years, Mr. Kelman has been very, very strong in terms of reaching out to the populace there in St. Lucie. And, you know, it's one of those areas, and I think both parties, both of our ruling parties have, in many cases, spoken heavily about what they would have done. And, you know, you haven't seen much of their work in making things better for these people. So I think, you know, it's very important that as you go forward, because like right now in 6 Mains, people have built wall structures. I mean, children have grown up in 6 Mains and built their own houses on that property. So that's a very particular situation right now. But it can be remedied, okay? It can be remedied, and it's very important. I mean, I'm thinking if an individual can come and take that area where this lavish marina has been built and is now making, you know, billions of dollars from that project. I think, you know, over the years, with more ingenuity and more thinking, government could have made things better for the people.
Yes, with more ingenuity and more thinking.
Yeah.
Sometimes these things are done intentionally, because these are people who are supposed to have brains. Now, as I said, Mr. Kelman spoke about this before he was a minister. He became Minister of Housing, and he offered the same solution that they're doing now, and he was heavily criticized. To the extent that you can imagine that he called you squatters.
Yeah.
But as I said, squatters now are is accepted.
See, and this is one of the things that we have to understand. See, that the opposition many times they get on the case of the present government for things that they're doing. When they become the government, they do the exact same thing. So this is always a sign to the Barbadian populace, okay? You have to make sure that, and let me say this, Mr. Morris, and I've said this several times, the time is here for Barbadians to take their future into their own hands. The time is really here to put both of these parties behind us so that we can actually move forward. It's the same old regimental system over and over. Yes, you have some individuals within the parties who do well, who try, but overall, the party is still the party at the end of the day.
Yes, very well put. And so, overall, what do you think is really happening in Rock Hall? And remember that Rock Hall is supposed to be a symbol of a free village. Perhaps the first free village in Barbados, it was said?
Well, that's what it said there in St. Thomas, the first free village in Barbados.
In Barbados.
It really doesn't look that way, but you know, at the end of the day, it kind of lends to the reality that in an area that is supposed to be the first free village in Barbados, it should be a tourist attraction. It should be a place that people who come to Barbados would want to frequent, to see what it's like there. But the reality is that the governments have allowed people over the years to do things without coming in the initial stages and saying, okay, listen, this is going to create a problem in the long run. We need to sort it out now. We need to help you understand that this is something that you can't do. Let's see what we can do to actually help you. And that's the assistance that has not been offered.
As far as I'm concerned, this is just another step of the present administration in an effort to destroy certain legacies in Barbados. They had some tour the other day. They visited Granny Adams' house and that sort of thing. There's no mention of Arabar's house. It was if Arabar didn't even exist.
You know, I think there was some deliberation in terms of limiting the amount of public holidays that we have here in Barbados, and it was very, very, you know, surprising that eliminating Arabar's there was on the list. I mean, that's
yes.
that's absolutely crazy.
Yes, I actually heard that too, that it was on the list. and people spoke about it, and they seem to have backed down.
Yeah.
But knowing the present leader, who doesn't really back down, they'll probably try to do it again from a different angle.
Well, I'll tell you this. You have to understand, no matter what government you are, okay, I don't think that our public holidays and those who have played an integral role in the history of Barbados, the development of Barbados, I don't think any of the two ruling parties should play games with that history. I think they should be fair when it comes to that history. So history in Barbados should not be based on the government. History in Barbados should be history.
Well said, as always by the apostle. This present administration are doing so many things that are out of hand and need to be checked. And the reason why they're not checked is because, as I said, I've said it several times before, that the people were so stupid to give them 30 seats. So they have the mandate to do everything that they want. And be unchecked. There's no one to check them, actually.
Well, again, it's the people have to do the checking now. Again, Mr. Morris, remember that the government is the servants of the people. Okay? I read in political commentary, the gentleman made a very interesting statement. He said most people do not know that once you elect a government, during the campaigning, you're a registered voter. On the day of the election, you become a voter. But he says most people do not know of the ruling classes within nations. And once the elections are over, you go back to being people in the eyes of those that you elect. See? And he mentioned very, very clearly in terms of the royal family, he says, unless you have a title, in your nation, you're not recognized by the royal family. You're actually considered by the royal family at that level. You are considered a commoner.
Yes, yes.
Any person without a title is a commoner.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why there were dukes and this and that and knights and sir this and sir that.
Yeah, and he mentioned even with Napoleon, with the French, the Roman Empire, that people who did not have a title were either referred to as dogs or cattle.
Or peasants.
Or peasants. So, you know, this is what subliminally that our people are experiencing. And somebody has to wake them up to help them understand.
But the thing is that it's right before their eyes. Okay? It's right before their eyes. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see these things. So we want the people to wake up. So we're coming to the end of this part. But I don't know, I'd like to end it with our favorite quote.
I think you've become stuck on
that.
Yes.
It's our favorite quote. Where the government fears the people, there is liberty or freedom. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny.
Yes.
And that is exactly what is going on now.
Yes.
So this is M.M Out There, over there, everywhere, all over the place. This is the end of part 1. And we shall see you shortly with part 2. Okay.